Most of the goals you're chasing right now aren't yours. They're inherited, borrowed from parents, partners, social media feeds, and a version of yourself that stopped being accurate years ago. And the gap between what you say you want and what you actually want is quietly destroying your motivation, your relationships, and your ability to make a single clear decision. Chances are, you felt that gap today and called it something else. Laziness, confusion, burnout. There's a specific kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with how much sleep you got. You know the feeling. You're doing everything right on paper. Checking boxes, hitting milestones, saying the correct things when someone asks about your 5-year plan. And yet there's this low hum of resistance underneath every task. A drag, like driving with the parking brake on. You keep pushing harder, assuming the problem is effort. The problem is direction. When you pursue something you genuinely want, effort feels different. The resistance drops. Decisions get simpler because the filter is clear. But when you're chasing a goal that belongs to someone else's value system, a salary number your father respects, a career path that photographs well, a relationship shape that matches a template, every step forward requires you to override a signal your body is sending. That signal is trying to tell you something, and most people spend decades muting it. So why is honesty about desire so difficult? Because the moment you admit what you actually want, you become accountable for going after it. And that's terrifying for a reason most people never examine. Vague goals are psychologically safe. I want to be successful can never really fail because it was never really defined. I want to open a 30-seat restaurant in Lisbon that serves only seafood caught that morning. That can fail. Spectacularly, in public. With your savings attached, the specificity is what makes it real, and real things carry real risk. So the mind does something clever. It substitutes. It swaps your actual desire for a safer, more socially approved version. You wanted creative freedom, but you told yourself you wanted a promotion. You wanted deep intimacy, but you told yourself you wanted a relationship that makes sense. The substitution happens so smoothly, you don't even notice the switch. And here's where the damage compounds. Every substituted goal you pursue drains a resource that genuine goals replenish. Psychologists who study self-concordance, the alignment between your goals and your authentic interests, have found that people pursuing self-concordant goals sustain effort longer, experience less friction, and report higher well-being even when the path is objectively harder. The difficulty doesn't change. Your relationship to the difficulty changes completely. Think about the last time you lost track of time doing something. Hours vanished. You forgot to eat. That state wasn't random. It was alignment. The task matched something real inside you, and the usual mental friction, the bargaining, the procrastination, the need for external motivation, evaporated. Now think about the thing you've been putting off for weeks, the thing that requires a podcast in the background and 3 false starts before you even begin. The contrast between those two experiences is your body's honesty speaking louder than your mind's rationalizations, but admitting what you want triggers a second deeper fear: other people's reactions. Say you're 34 and you want to leave your accounting career to study ceramics. Feel that? The cringe isn't yours. It's a simulation of every raised eyebrow, every concerned family dinner, every friend who'd text your partner asking if everything's okay. We don't just evaluate our desires against reality. We evaluate them against an audience, real and imagined, that we've been performing for since adolescence. The performance becomes so automatic that most people lose track of where the audience's preferences end and their own begin. A therapist once described it as wearing a coat someone handed you when you were too young to refuse. By the time you realize it doesn't fit, you've built your entire wardrobe around it. Removing it means standing there, briefly, in something that feels like nothing. And that nothing is precisely where honest desire lives, in the gap between shedding what was assigned and discovering what remains. This scares people more than failure does. Failure at least has a narrative. You tried, it didn't work, you learned something. The fear underneath honest wanting is more existential. What if I get quiet enough to listen? And the answer is something I can't justify. Something small, something weird, something that won't impress anyone. A person who admits they want a quiet life in a small town, a garden, and enough time to read, that person has committed an act of radical clarity in a culture that only rewards escalation. Bigger house, better title, more followers. The algorithm of social approval points in one direction, up, admitting you want to go sideways, or even down by conventional metrics, requires a kind of courage that looks nothing like courage from the outside. It looks like giving up. Only you know the difference. So what actually happens when someone gets honest? The first thing that changes is speed. Decisions that used to take weeks, should I take this job? Should I end this? Should I move? Start resolving in days. Sometimes hours, because the real question was never, what should I do? The real question was, what do I actually want? And once that's answered, the should collapses into obvious action. The mental bandwidth you were burning on deliberation frees up for execution. The second shift is in relationships. When you stop performing a version of yourself, the people around you either move closer or drift away. Both outcomes are useful information. The ones who move closer are responding to something real. The ones who drift were attached to the performance, which means the connection was never with you in the first place. It was with a character you were playing. Losing that character feels like loss. It's actually inventory correction. The third shift is the strangest. Your tolerance for discomfort goes up dramatically. This seems backwards. You'd think that chasing what you truly want would feel easier across the board. Parts of it do, but honest desire also strips away your best excuses. When you were pursuing someone else's goal, every obstacle was evidence that maybe this wasn't meant for you. Convenient exit ramps everywhere. When the goal is genuinely yours, obstacles become something else entirely. They become the price of admission to the thing you chose with open eyes. The pain doesn't shrink. Your willingness to carry it expands. There's a version of this that sounds like toxic positivity. Follow your passion and everything works out. That's not what the research supports, and it's not what I'm describing. Honest desire doesn't guarantee outcomes. People who pursue self-concordant goals still fail, still struggle, still face external constraints that block their path. The difference is in what happens internally during the struggle. Aligned effort metabolizes stress differently. It converts setbacks into information rather than identity crises. You can lose the restaurant and still know that opening it was the correct move because the pursuit matched something real. Try that math with a goal you never wanted. Lose at someone else's game, and you're left with nothing because there was nothing of yours invested in it. The counterargument writes itself. People have responsibilities, mortgages, kids, aging parents who need care. You can't just follow your heart into a ceramic studio when the electricity bill is due Thursday. And that's fair. Honest desire doesn't mean impulsive action. It means accurate internal reporting. You can know what you want and still make strategic compromises about timing. The danger isn't in delaying your want. The danger is in forgetting you have one. In replacing it so thoroughly with practical concerns that when someone asks you what you'd do if money weren't an issue, you draw a blank. That blank isn't peace. That's a missing signal. Start smaller than you think. The practice of honest wanting doesn't begin with quitting your job. It begins with the next time someone asks where you want to eat dinner, and you actually answer, instead of saying, I don't care, you pick. It begins with noticing the flicker of interest you suppress 12 times a day because acting on it would be inconvenient or unexplainable or weird. That flicker is data. Track it for 2 weeks and a pattern emerges, a direction that was always there, waiting under the noise of performance and obligation. The oldest version of you, the one waiting at the end of all this, doesn't ask whether you succeeded by anyone else's metrics. That version asks a simpler question, and it's the one most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Did you want what you chased, or did you chase what you could defend? The answer reshapes every year between now and then.